morning and welcome to the May 14th, 2026 Board of Trustees meeting for Johnson County Community College. If you'll please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, looking at the dais, it looks like we've got 6 members in attendance and Trustee Cross joining us via phone this evening. We are going to begin with our awards, recognitions, and highlights. Dr. Mixa, tell us who we have as our student spotlight tonight.
All right, I am excited to introduce Israel Montantes. He is going to tell us a little bit about his journey here at Johnson County Community College with a focus around the idea of journalism.
Hello, I hope this thing is on.
Yes.
My name is Israel Montantes. I am 37. I have lived in Olathe since 2018, and I moved here from Lawrence. Coming back to college wasn't exactly my idea in the first place, but I did decide to come back to help my community out as far as getting answers to questions that I wanted from discussions and whatnot in the classroom settings. Here at the college, I've been able to take my ideas in journalism and apply that in the student media as a student newspaper. So I am the videographer here. Some of the highlights I could tell about, the Japanese festivals was my first opportunity here to basically craft a story. I didn't exactly know what I was doing. Truthfully, so they gave me the job the week before. They didn't tell me anything, and then I decided, hey, I'm going to this event. Can I bring my equipment here? So that kind of led me from discussions, questions, feedback, and a lot of good trouble, let's put it that way, as far as what I've been able to obtain ever since then. I guess just to finish up the highlights, the AI exhibit at the upstairs and in the FADS department, some of the students gave some wonderful opinions. And that was another opportunity for me to get to know the student body here, learn about what they care about, how they want to tell their stories, and film that. That was a great way for me to say, how do I frame this? How do I tell this and, well, 2 sides of the story, really. This semester I got to take on the documentary on the student automotive group. They are building a Type 65 replica car that you guys should know about. I think they had a presentation last month, and I've been documenting that almost the entirety of the time, like from when they start their meetings to when they start building. And again, we just published another video just this week detailing a lot of the things that they've done over the past semester. And personally for me, this school has allowed me some very extremely good opportunities as far as I got to go to NAB this year, the National Association of Broadcasters, and allowed me to not only play with a lot of nice new toys, but got to talk to a lot of people and ask questions about, if I'm a videographer and I want to do storytelling in the next 10, 12 years, whatever, along, what do I need to be working on right now so that I can be effective that I can find, well, jobs, of course, but just to be a good, good workflow, good, the word is just escaping me right now. Not manners, but I'll just go with workflow because my brain is off right now. But either way, it allowed me just to ask questions to a very diverse audience of people that have been doing these kinds of jobs that I want to do. So that is going to help me a lot with the next few years of my planning, which is to end up getting a bachelor's or hopefully a master's in journalism with an emphasis on production and multimedia. And overall, it's been a very good first semester for me here.
Thank you.
That's enough. I was told there'd be questions.
Yes. We're going to get to that part next. Does anyone have questions for Israel? Yeah, Trustee Jennings.
I'm so glad you're here. We need journalists, and we need to know what people are doing. So thank you. So what did you do before you decided to come back to college? Were you kind of in journalism at the time?
As far as the community goes, like audio, video, that sort of thing, it was mostly just like trying to get the message across in very, not necessarily amateurish ways, but I didn't know exactly what I was doing. But I kept doing one thing and the next, basically problem shooting my way through it as best I could with the skills that I had. And I realized I could work some of this myself again, or I can try to go into a more foundational system college and see where my strengths and weaknesses lie. So that's why I'm here.
Sounds like Johnson County Community Colleges help you find the path you really want to take, and thank you for taking that journey.
All right, Trustee Rattan.
Good to see you here. I will say I see you everywhere out in the community, so good to see you here too. You indicated that you were in this industry before, but now you're getting the technical basis. Is there anything that in between that was a big aha or awakening or something you've learned? An example of that?
Oh, and the writing?
Well, you said you were kind of in journalism and
Oh, okay.
production, but now you're doing the degree in it.
Well, the idea is as things are changing, the cost of equipment is coming down. So things that you would usually run you hundreds of thousands of dollars are now tens of thousands of dollars. And eventually they'll come down again and again and again. Or more efficient pieces of methods that will allow me to create videos, from like shooting it to publishing it and everything in between. So that is the workflow that I'm learning from beginning to end. And the way I'm asking questions is, I know how to do this part, what's the next part, and how do I do that faster, quicker, and to be honest, in a much more sane way, because sometimes it does drive you crazy with certain parts that you don't want to do. So on the technical aspect, there's been a lot more advances in the last, 10 years, as far as how journalism is made, how it's published, and how it's consumed. So that in our classrooms, especially in the last 2 semesters, has basically been the talking points, is how do we still take the same ideas, because again, we're still talking about the same problems, the same issues. It may be worded differently, it may be covered differently, but we still want to have that discussion around in the classroom about how do I take a story and publish it for somebody to read. And instead of paper, I'm focusing on the multimedia aspect of how do I show this in a visual medium?
Any other trustees? Yeah, trustee Carroll.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to say hi, Israel. We know each other for sure, and I just wanted to commend you for coming back at our age and coming back to college. It can be definitely scary, and I just want to say stick with the journey and good luck.
I mean, since we just finished our ethics course, I would like to at least, for the record, say I've helped a lot of your guys' campaigns. So that's why we keep repeating the same thing of, you know me, you know me, you know me, you've seen me around.
I think you've helped some pretty good people, so we appreciate that. Trustee Mitchell, did you indicate you wanted
I
to?
was also going to kind of echo what Chad said. We've known each other for a while. And in fact, I think the last time you had a camera pointed at me may have been this past Sunday. It wasn't a campaign event, but I did speak at an event. So, and I started to chat with you a little bit about your next steps. You mentioned you want to get a bachelor's degree. So have you kind of picked an ideal spot for you to land after you've completed here?
KU has accepted me in
Oh,
print
excellent.
journalism.
Congratulations.
Good to hear.
But I will be back next semester here, mostly to help out Professor Humphreys and his endless pursuit of trying to recreate the newspaper here.
Okay, if I don't see anybody else that wants to speak, I will just say, Israel, I appreciate you being up here. And we call you a non-traditional student. That's a student that comes back after a gap period to decide, decides college, community colleges for them for a number of reasons. And you kind of indicated that just a little bit in your story, that someone or something was the final prompt, because you began by saying it wasn't my idea to come back to college. And I was just curious, who or what was the final push for you to come back to join us here at JCCC?
I wouldn't say a singular person, I'd say a community of people. Mostly it was the fact that I was reaching my limits as far as answers that I could give them. So that was kind of like the stepping stone of, I need a way to get them the answers that they need, or at the very least, solutions for them. So could I blame Cassie for this? Some of these people know her, yes. But overall, it's just the variety of questions or challenges that I was facing. And I was like, I am at least smart enough to know when I need to ask for help.
Yep, yeah. Sometimes that's half the battle, is knowing what you don't know, right? Well, thank you very much. Thank you for coming up here. Thank you for your story. I think everybody's story is unique on how and why they come here, and then where you go from here, we can't wait to see. So we look forward to seeing you next semester, and apparently everybody will see you around all over between now and then. So have a great one. Thank you so much. Okay, well, that takes us to, yes. That takes us to our campus spotlight. Dr. Mixa, talk to us about who we're seeing tonight.
So today, we're going to give you a glimpse of our recruitment and enrollment strategy team led by Pete Belk with the two other people in his office, Lisa Turner Hernandez and Krista Grace. So come on down.
We need interlude music. Anybody? Anybody? On the tune? Work on the technology. There we go. There we go, Dr. Mixa. A little trumpet you can play. Good evening.
I'm Lisa Turner Hernandez, Program Director for Admissions.
Hi, everyone. My name is Krista Grace, and I am the Manager for Student Recruitment.
And I'm Pete Belk. I'm Director of Recruitment and Enrollment Strategy. So evolution of us. When I arrived here in 2003, part of one of our 30-hour employees' duties was to visit high schools and attend college fairs and provide campus tours. In 2006, we hired our first recruiters, thanks to, at the time, interim president Dr. Larry Tyree. The world was changing back in 2006. Internet was taking off, social media that started around then. And as you think about other things that were going on, then marketing really was playing a pivotal role in how we enrolled our students. And marketing will always play that pivotal role, but recruiters truly bring our marketing to life as they're building relationships with key stakeholders. They're the face of the college. They're our boots on the ground, if you will. We're now in our SIM era, because SIM goes beyond marketing and recruiting. It's truly a holistic approach to reaching our optimal institutional size. Dr. Judy Korb, who was then our interim vice president, led us in our first plan, and now under Shelley Allen's leadership, our current plan will take us through 2027. You see the 4 goals of our current SIM plan on your screen.
Some of the pictures of the events and things that our team does to stay busy all the time. But really, the recruitment in action, we're really focused on creating first and lasting impressions. Really, how do we build and maintain impactful relationships in everything that we do? So we've been strategically reinventing our approach to recruitment, creating a renewed excitement and awareness of JCCC. Some of the ways that we're doing that, we've reinvented the recruiter territories to be more strategic. If we have recruiters who were alumni of high schools or have relationships, really putting them in front of those high schools where the connections are already there and then building upon those connections. We've been collaborating with marketing to create material that is able to be personalized and customized to the audience we're speaking to, as well as highlighting our areas of interest and helping those students, especially in the high schools, who may not know exactly what they want to do. It gives them that broad awareness and makes them feel like they're headed in a direction, and that we can help guide them from there. We are really focused on encouraging students to come visit campus. This place is amazing. The people, the facilities, and I believe that if we can get them here to see this and experience that firsthand, seeing is believing, and then we can take it from there. We've also reinvented what our large campus events look like. We've collaborated with staff across the institution as well as faculty to include some sample classes in those events, rethink what the different titles of the events could be. How can we create them where they're really looking at different specific areas for those students, so that way they feel like the event is customized to them and they can already see how we support them as individuals. And then finally, you may have heard, we have a new CRM, Element 451, that we've been very busy implementing, and that's going to allow us to continue that personalized, strategic approach to communicating with students throughout their journey as students at JCCC. And as a result of the efforts thus far, just this year alone, we've had 3,600 prospective students visit campus in one capacity or another, as well as done 185 off-campus recruitment visits and events to various high schools throughout the metro area.
All right, so as Lisa mentioned, we are working really, really hard to get students to us because we know what a valuable resource we are. Getting students excited is really the bread and butter for admissions, but we also wanted to make sure that we were able to provide care and guidance once they were here, right? Feeling confident moving through that admissions. Back in July of 2024, we did establish a navigator, admissions navigator role. I stepped into that role just a few months later in September, and we saw incredible demand, right? Over the course of that role, I took over 1,100 student appointments and helped facilitate walk-ins. So really acting as a source for prospective exploration and admissions guidance. What we found was that students were so grateful. They kept coming back. And as one tiny little me, that was really hard. And I really wanted to make sure that we were able to be able to continue to support those students. So as of May 1st, right, so just a few weeks ago, we saw the need to fill that demand. And so we have brought on site our success coaches. They were already doing incredibly valuable and important work through first semester preparation, onboarding, and continued academic coaching throughout a student's journey. We thought that they'd be a perfect fit to help kind of fill that need. So we're able to integrate that continued support with those additional resources. It's been hugely successful. As I said, May 1st was our launch day, and they've already seen 77 admissions inquiry appointments alone. That is on top of the academic support and the first semester preparation that they're doing. So I know that we are to a strict timeline, but we'd love to end our presentation today with a little celebration. I hope that we are wired for sound. We just got done with our favorite time of the year, which is announcing our Presidential Scholar Awards. Our recruiters worked diligently to coordinate 24 surprise visits to our high schoolers. They showed up in blankets and PJs and their Sunday's best. But this was a particularly special one that we got to do last year for our Shawnee Mission West awardee. Oh no. Audio is muted. Am I going to mess anything up if I try to turn it on? The answer is yes.
Best intention.
Well, I won't take up too much time, but we were able to go and surprise that student in their choir classroom. The choir had behind their back secretly put together a surprise rendition of a customized song, Little Baby Luca, Happy Scholarship to You.
That's incredible. All right, so is that it? That was very brief. You guys were excellent with your timeline. All right, for anyone, any trustees have questions for our team?
I do have a question.
I thought you might, Trustee Holton.
Can we go back to the page that you presented with the goals? I'm big on goals and
metrics
achievements
guy.
and metrics and things of that nature. So I'm curious. I do have a question because I attended a pretty awesome rally. At the very beginning, there was like the all hands rally or something like that in Yardley, and 20,000 students was one of the big goals at that rally. Are you guys able to? Or is that not a goal for you guys?
It is reflected in here. So these are the four major goals of the Strategic Enrollment Management Plan, and then there are sub-goals underneath that. So within the first goal, the recruitment strategies, there are sub-goals which include the 20,000 students.
Okay.
Yes.
And then are you guys just credit hour recruitment?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, we
not
have a good
recruiting for-
relationship with Elisa and others to be able to know when the handoff should take place. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, and then my final question is, have you guys done any data building relativity between your visits and visits here, you're going out on visits and your visits here to enrollment, how it affect what those visits and this number of students sign up?
So the last time we did it, because we're in our first iteration of a real CRM that will provide that information quickly to us.
Okay.
So the last time we did it was kind of merging some spreadsheets together and looking people up and going through a few steps. But what we found then was 75% of the students who come here for an individual visit enroll. Now, that does not count Mr. Smith, who brings his class of 30 here for a group visit. It's individual students who sign up for a visit. And again, but that's been years ago. Research shows, and students do tend to go to more than one institution to tour and kind of figure out where their fit is. But research shows bringing students on campus is going to be the best indicator for their future enrollment.
Includes your questions? All right, very good. Anybody else? Yes, Trustee Carroll.
Madam Chair, if we could, I believe, go forward one slide to where we had the numbers about the visits. Yes, this. So how has this increased or decreased over time? I'm guessing it increased, but what does that look like?
So
Some of that is a little difficult to track because we haven't had a CRM. So I've been here almost 2 years. So I've been living in spreadsheet land tracking it. And I would say it's roughly about a 15% increase on the off-campus visits that we've been doing, and probably a little bit higher, although some of the data was a little difficult to find and to compare year over year for the total students to campus.
Okay. And then my final question, so in regards to the appointments and everything like that, so are students, with our changing world, are students preferring to come in person versus utilizing
Surprisingly,
technology and everything?
They actually more often, Krista, I'm going to defer to you since you did most of the actual meeting.
Yeah.
But probably 65?
Yeah, I think it was roughly about half were in person. And then surprisingly, my second highest modality was phone. It was certainly a really great resource, especially for our working students who are calling us over their lunch break rather than fussing with technology and figuring out, you saw me with the sound earlier. So, avoiding some of that, but yeah.
Are you able to do a video call?
Yeah.
Call as well?
Yeah,
Okay.
we offered in-person phone and Zoom.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Anyone else? Yes, Trustee Jennings.
You said that was it May 1st, you launched the Success Coaches to be part of the enrollment admissions.
Admissions appointments.
So my question is, will they then be able to stay with the students that they worked with so
Glad you
that
asked.
initial interaction becomes an interaction for the semester?
And building that relationship,
That's awesome.
absolutely.
Okay.
So one of the things that we saw with Krista, and obviously is one person, her bandwidth was very limited. She did such a wonderful job. They were like, great, I did everything you said. Now can I come back and meet with you? And it was handoff time because she is one person. And so this is going to allow us to, we've even already seen, okay, so here's what you need to go do now that we've met for this admissions appointment. Once you've done all of that, come back. So do you want to go ahead and schedule that while you're here for your onboarding appointment so we can talk about what's next? And so that's been a really great thing. And I think, that commitment level is much higher if we already have that on the calendar. We've already built that relationship while you're here. Let's get that on the calendar. We've already seen some of those benefits. So very
I
exciting.
think that's huge because students may leave and still feel really overwhelmed. And if they know that they know somebody,
Have a person.
they have a person that they know they can come back to, and they have some relationship already started.
Also throw in, the CRM has the ability to assign a care team, if you will, to a student. So they're going to start with a recruiter, go to a success coach who's going to follow them throughout their first semester, then be assigned a recruiter and potentially, a counselor, thank you, and then potentially get into, international student services or veteran services or student life, other areas that can be part of that care team that will do, as you just said, help them through everything that they have going on.
That's great. Thank you. Great job, guys.
Any other questions from trustees? Yeah,
Really more
going
just
right
like,
down the line.
more like just a quick comment. You and many other groups on campus are doing all these programs focused on student success, which in the 2+ years I've been on the board has boggled my mind in a very good way, I might add. I'll just say that 1,000 years ago when I went to college, they just, it was a meat grinder, and it was well accepted that 50% of the freshman class would wash out. So I think it's really good. It's super good the way we've been focusing on that.
Trustee Rattan, do you have?
Thank you for what you do.
Thank you all very much. I think we could probably do a 3-hour Q&A on this, because this obviously for ambassadors to the college, which is what trustees are, this is one of those things that a lot of community people will ask us. We are, for some people, their person and a gateway to how does this college work and how can you help me? I just wanted to give a small vignette. I have a graduating senior, so she will be graduating next Thursday. And we've done some college visits, and I will tell you that having been on this campus multiple times, we are the comparison for her. And so she has visited several four-year institutions in the state and out of state. And when one visit that didn't go so well, so I won't name the institution, she said, "Mom, if she shows me one more room that looks like it was built in 1985, I'm gonna say, have you been to JCCC? It's like so much better than what they have to offer." So I completely agree with you and have lived the experience that when I bring my daughter and her friends, because I'm dragging some kids here, and you'll be hearing from me very shortly this summer, because I've got several that are gonna come for visits, they go, "Oh, it's not some little podunk thing. It's feels like a real college experience to them." And so I appreciate you telling that, because I think that is critical for as much of a virtual world that we live in, the reality is it's still that personal touch that makes the difference. So thank you for being part of that, because you guys are really critical to that. So thank you so much.
Seamless.
Yes. Yeah, it is. All right, we are going to move to the open forum section of our meeting. The open forum section of the board meeting is a time for members of the community to provide comments to the board. There will be one open forum period during each regularly scheduled board meeting. Comments are limited to 5 minutes unless a significant number of people plan to speak. In that instance, I would reserve the right to limit your comments to less than 5 minutes. Tonight, we do have one registered speaker. When addressing the board, registered speakers are asked to remain at the podium, should be respectful and civil, and are encouraged to address individual personnel or student matters directly with the appropriate college department. As a practice, the college does not respond in this setting when the matters concern personnel or student issues or matters that are being addressed through our established grievance or suggestion process or are otherwise the subject of review by the college or the board. The one speaker we have this evening is Mr. Hamilton. So Mr. Hamilton, if you'll please come to the podium. Thank you. If you could state your name and your address, please.
Tim Hamilton, Lawrence, Kansas. I'm a professor of economics here, and I wanted to talk to you about inflation because it's kind of unusual what's going on, and I swim in these waters that I don't think any of you guys do. And I did speak a little bit with our CFO, who I'm incredibly impressed with. We are really, really blessed to have her managing our budget. And I'm mentioning inflation numbers, and she's already on it and already knows it. So, and I do have a cheat sheet I would like to pass out for you guys, if I could. I think Dr. Mix already has a copy of that. Inflation is, we got inflation numbers as of Tuesday, and it was 3.8% by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. The Cleveland Federal Reserve Bank is a little more broad because they take not just the BLS, Bureau of Labor Statistics, but they also cast a wider net, a broader survey of businesses and institutions. They estimated 4.16% for inflation. And then the third one that I have listed for you, and there's links there for each of you if you want to click on those. State Street Price Stats, which is a private investment firm which looks at inflation, and this is kind of the money people forecasting ahead. And the reason why I bring the Cleveland and the State Street to you is because they're forward-looking as opposed to the BLS is a little bit backwards-looking. And the reason I wanted to have these inflation numbers for you is because you're making budgetary decisions, you're making mill levy decisions, and in the next year, where is inflation going to go? It looks like, at least a lot of the things that I've read, look at 4%. Some forecasts have us at 4.25% by Christmas. So if that is true, you might at least have in your minds thinking that, and I just want you to have the tools to be able to do that. The Federal Reserve typically, at least my review of them, the last time they raised rates was 2023. When inflation gets up to 4%, that is when they actually will raise the federal funds rate. And last time they did it 3 times in 2023, was when inflation got to 4%, and then they raise it usually 0.25% per time. If that happens, then we could see higher interest rates happening also. And with higher interest rates, typically that means that a lot of home buying declines, and much of our mill levy depends on the housing market. So it's all interconnected. Now, I say all this, and on the ride home, who knows, there's a deal cut and the Strait of Hormuz is open because there's this mercurial nature that seems to be going on all the time. But we have to play with the cards we're dealt now. And I just wanted the trustees to know, and everyone to know at least what the data is showing, because that way everyone is sort of on the same page. Because again, I swim in these waters that I don't think you guys do, although our CFO also does. So anyway, just hopefully you can take advantage of this and we can at least know where we're going as we go forward. Thanks.
Very much. All right, we are going to move on to the first board report of the evening, and I do not see our Student Senate Representative Oliver Gonzalez. I'm sure he is dutifully studying or taking a final as we speak, so we're going to move on to college lobbyist Dick Carter. Okay, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Carter.
Good evening, and
Did I just say morning? Yes. That's the kind of week I'm having. Thank you.
morning somewhere.
Somewhere, right?
We have reached that point in the legislative cycle where really there's a lull. There's not much going on. We're waiting for the filing deadline to come. That's June 1 for candidates that are running for statewide office and for the State House. We've had 12 House members indicate that they are not running next cycle. Some of those folks are either running for a statewide office or are just simply retiring. So that's a little under 10% of the House. I think that number will likely go up. We'll see some other retirements on June 1. And then the interim process, the interim committees that meet and study issues and topics that ultimately become bills or proposals in the next legislative cycle. We don't know what those look like yet, although legislative leadership indicated at a recent legislative coordinating council that they've received 20 requests so far, 20 letters, if you will. So there could be multiple study topics contained in those letters that they receive, with a total of about 67 days requested. That may sound like a lot. That's about half of what was approved last year. With this being an election year for the House, there won't be as many interims as we might normally see in the off cycle. It's even fewer when the Senate is also running. The Senate has 2 more years left in their term, so we don't have assurance of what those committees look like yet. But in June, we'll know a lot better what the interim study committees look like. I would imagine that one of those is going to be property tax policy and property tax reform. The governor did veto the second effort by the legislature to pass property tax reform. It will be a topic of campaigns this summer. It will be back before the legislature next year. It's not something that's just simply going to go away. And so depending on what those conversations look like this summer and what those proposed solutions look like next session, we'll be tracking those closely. There was an attempt, albeit brief, by a few senators to call a special session to address property tax. It became very clear very early from the Senate Majority Leader that there really wasn't going to be an effort to entertain a special session. Not only that, I don't think the signatures were there for a 2/3 majority either in the Senate and definitely not in the House to call a special session. Nonetheless, it generated some headlines. It was out there. Like I said, this issue is not going to go away. And then finally, one of the things that we'll be tracking over the course of the summer and fall as we look towards the next legislative cycle, we'll have an election in there. We'll have a new governor. We'll have some new House members even in Johnson County. We have some folks that are retiring. But we have some governance issues at the Board of Regents. We'll have a new CEO, or at least we'll have identified someone by then. That search committee is meeting and taking input from stakeholders in higher education in Kansas. We may have 3 new regents. There are 3 that likely will not be reappointed or not seeking reappointment. And that makes a difference, again, in what that conversation looks like at the state level for setting higher education policy. And then finally, the Board of Regents also is going to have some challenges, and I say that not in a negative way, but with legislation passed this past session that allows some of the research universities a little more flexibility in the way they do their business. That's going to make some changes at the governing level as well for the Board of Regents. So that kind of captures where we're at. I think we'll know some more in June as far as not only the interim committees that we'll be looking at, or at least some of those topics. They may not all be approved by then, but I think we'll have a glimpse of what those look like, as well as we're going to know who's running for governor and who's running for those House seats. So the big race to watch, obviously, is the governor's race. I don't think we'll have nine members of the GOP in a primary, but we will have several, and it will be something that we'll be obviously following and watching all the way through August. So I think that's a good place to stop and see if there's questions.
Questions for Dick? Okay, seeing none, I think we're going to let you off easy this time. I joked with you yesterday that, this is your vacation time, because once June hits, then all kinds of more fun begins after the filing deadline. So I hope you get to do something fun and away from the state capitol in between there. So, yeah, take care. All right, we are going to move to the shared governance report, and I understand we have Ann Turner, is that right? For this evening. Good evening.
Oh, thank you. Good evening. I was told I have 1 minute, so
We'll extend it and
I
give you
will
90
make this
seconds. How
brief.
about
I will
that?
read directly from my notes. No improv tonight. But thank you all for allowing this shared governance update. I am Ann Turney. I'm the chair of Staff Council this academic year. I'm going to talk a little bit about College Council, Academic Branch Council, and then I'll wrap it up with Staff Council. So College Council met yesterday. We are ongoing review of our bylaws, and one heavy consideration that we're having right now is how do we best leverage student voice in a College Council setting. Historically, we've had 2 student senate seats on the council, and so now we're looking at how do we best utilize their time and their input, knowing that their schedules, priorities are a little bit different than the rest of the makeup of the council. So we are looking at that. And then we will elect our new co-chair in June. So we had a very good meeting yesterday. I felt like a lot of discussion, a lot of great updates. Thank you to Trustee Carroll for the update of the last board meeting. We are looking forward to really kind of seeing where the next academic year takes us with College Council. At Academic Branch Council, as the semester comes to a conclusion, they are done meeting until next fall, but they do have new leadership. So James Leiker will take over as chair, and then Jason Gray will become vice chair. So I know they're looking forward to taking on those new roles. A quick update from ABC. In fall 2025, they undertook the challenge to survey the academic branch, over 800 employees in the branch, to really see what the pulse is on shared governance as it relates to ABC, Ed Affairs, OLAC, the Online Advisory Council, and College Council. 3 big things stood out. Survey results showed a high level of I don't know, or I really don't have enough information to comment on shared governance. So that was a good piece of information for them to take back and ponder. It also showed that the perception is that shared governance works best at levels closest to the respondents. So closest to the folks in the classroom, scheduling, things like that. And it kind of weakened as decisions were made further away from those answering the survey or those outside of the branch. So another good piece of information. And then comments also identified a lack of formal inclusion for adjuncts to be problematic. So good insight, I think, that ABC has to be able to really take that information from the survey and see how they would like to move forward and the work that they'd like to do in ABC. In staff council, an area I'm a little more familiar with, we are also in the time of updating our bylaws. So revisions are currently underway, and one key thing that we are really incorporating into our bylaws are our new 3 standing committees. So starting in July, we will have 3 standing committees, outreach and programming, so to better connect staff council with the rest of staff on campus, both socially, just to get to know each other, as well as what kind of trainings can staff council champion for all staff. We'll also have a communication committee. We are working on a SharePoint communication site, kind of a newsletter type thing, to hopefully keep staff more informed of what staff council's got going on and shared communications there. And then lastly, a topic request committee. Topic requests are the most formal way that staff council receives feedback for things that our constituents would like us to discuss. And so by moving it from currently the leadership, 4 of us will discuss topics, now we're moving it to a committee to allow for more discussion amongst all members of staff council. Speaking of topics, so far this academic year, we have had 40 topics requested and submitted to the council. We've closed or resolved 54 topics. So we had some topics that have been hanging out for a while, and one of our goals this year was to really start to move through those. Maybe we didn't have the answer that we wanted, maybe we didn't have an answer at all, but we were able to give something back and not just have those topics hanging out there. So I'm personally proud of that, but I think we're all proud to okay, let's get moving along a little bit here. And we only have 4 open topics, and I think we can tackle all 4 of them in some way, shape, or form by June. One notable topic I did want to bring up that we've discussed yesterday at College Council as well was the suspension of the K-10 connector bus. We've had employees reach out about how that has impacted their ability to get to work over the summer with the K-10 connector being discontinued until August. Moving right along, on April 14th, we had an open meeting. We have 1 open meeting a semester and invite anybody who'd like to attend, staff-wise. We did not quite as an intensive process to gathering feedback as ABC, but we did want to kind of poll those who attended the meeting so that we could start planning on what our initiatives and priorities were going to be for next academic year. And so we asked if staff council could do one thing next year, what would it be? And staff expressed a desire for improved work-life balance. Benefits, of course, was a topic that was brought up. Stronger communication, so we are really excited to launch that newsletter platform in SharePoint. Also, just to be more connected and for a more supportive workplace culture. We also asked if participants that attended the meeting, did they participate in shared governance? And so we weren't surprised that it did parallel a little bit with ABC, that not everybody really understands what shared governance is. So 65 responded that they did participate in shared governance, so that was good. 9 reported that they had no participation, but 26% were unsure if what they have done since being at the college counted as shared governance. Lastly, I've got 3 more, sorry. We asked, what is their definition of shared governance? What does it mean to you? And they described shared governance as having a voice, being represented, and engaged in collaborative and transparent decision-making within a supportive community. So staff themselves, that's kind of, in summation, what they define shared governance as. We also asked what barriers or support they had to engaging in shared governance. Engagement, they shared that engagement is influenced by time and availability. So do they have the time to commit to shared governance, whether that's being on a committee or participating in discussions. They also shared a lot about their managerial support, both as something that enabled them to participate in shared governance, but also as maybe a hindrance. So that gives us an opportunity to really work with supervisors and help promote the importance of shared governance and involvement in that. They also talked a little bit about psychological safety, not feeling that they could voice concerns without repercussions. And then also talked about just clarifying communication regarding what opportunities are available for them. What can they raise their hand for? What's out there for them to get involved in? And then lastly, we asked for if there was anything that the institution could do or that they could personally do to improve shared governance. And they indicated that shared governance becomes more meaningful when communication is clear, participation is supported by leadership, time is allocated, time again, and then outcomes demonstrate tangible impact. So that gave us an opportunity to really take this feedback, and we typically have a retreat in July. And so the new chair, Dr. Shank, she will take over in July, and they'll be able to take the feedback from our open meeting to see what they're going to focus on next year. But overall, looking ahead, shared governance groups are continuing to explore strategies to enhance awareness and engagement across our constituents, with a particular focus on helping employees understand both formal and informal ways that they can contribute to shared governance. So, thank you.
Thank you. Do I have any questions for Ms. Attorney? Yes.
Just a couple questions on the K-10 connector thing. I assume, Ms. Turney, that this is probably a KC ATA decision, and we...
Yes, you're correct.
Is this new this year, or have they done this in the past?
That's kind of the same question I've been asked. Has this happened in the past? I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it has been discontinued previously or not.
I'm assuming that ridership drops off pretty significantly during that period, and it's a bummer that they've shut it down for that period, but I'm assuming that's probably what the rationale is.
I think looking at the monetary aspect as well, yeah.
Rattan.
You mentioned all the topics. Which was the most common topic submitted?
So we had a lot of HR benefit topics submitted. A lot of part-time benefits. So part-time benefits, whether it was bereavement. One that we still have open is adding sick leave to part-time employment in addition to the PAL hours, which PAL encompass any type of leave. And so we'll discuss that in June with HR. But very heavy on benefits. I will say I feel like it's shifted a little bit this spring to more like operational questions. We have one topic out there regarding like parking lot safety. And we feel pretty good about that one. We communicated with campus services and provided feedback on like some of the paint is wearing away as it normally does, and they responded back saying, hey, yep, this is on our summer plan. And then we have some things for the police department as well, and so we feel like that's kind of an operational topic. So things kind of like that, but we're able to have some good momentum speaking with the appropriate departments to get those addressed.
It seems like you really accomplished a lot this year and got really great quality answers on the survey. Can you remind me of how many people participated in that survey?
So in the ABC one or the staff council?
I think it was the ABC.
ABC
the
one?
last you talked about.
Ooh, I do not have that in front of me. I think over 200 participants. Yeah. Does that seem right, Irene? Yeah.
And then how many people attended the meeting where you guys asked a question on?
Around 60. Yeah, 60 for the staff council. Yeah. And we had talked about, do we, send that out there to all staff or not, or continue just to grab, grassroots feedback?
Getting some quality information in and then working with it. So thank you for that.
Trustee Holton, did you indicate the question? Okay. Any other questions? Ms. Turney, thank you very much. I would say, been here officially for 6 years, part of the college in one way or another, 19 years previous with my father. And communication is always top of the trouble list for an institution of this size. I don't think it's anything new. I don't think anybody has found the silver bullet that answers all of it. But I wanted to commend the group that doing the newsletter, I think, is a really great step forward. I think higher ed in particular gets lost in silos, and that, something that goes across many of those silos to communicate some of those very basic things on how do you find out what your benefits are, or, what is the purpose of shared governance? Those kind of things really help because people like me who are very busy, you can go back and refer to an email and a newsletter. So sometimes that's nice to be able to have something that's put out there for people to refer to that maybe doesn't get lost in the, what's the thing we don't have, where all the stuff comes through.
Info Hub?
What?
Info Hub?
Info Hub, where it's a lot harder to keep track and lose that. So thank you very much for your presentation tonight. Have a good one.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
All right, that takes us to Faculty Association presentation with Ms. Olivares. Good evening.
Good evening or good morning. I think the lights in here just make it seem so light and exciting. I will try to keep this brief. I do have some FA updates. the Faculty Association selected its officers for 2026-2027. So I will return as president for one more year, and hopefully that's it. Jim McWard will return as vice president. Aaron Gould will be joining the FA as secretary recorder. Aaron Gould is an associate professor of anthropology, and I'm sure many of you have met Aaron. She participates in a lot of the international, she volunteers with international students and things like that. Lisa Parrott will return as treasurer, Amanda Glass will return as UNICEF representative, and Andrea View continues to be the immediate past president. And I want to thank Danny Alexander, professor of English, for his service for the last 2 years, for his service to the Faculty Association as secretary-treasurer. He is rolling off of that duty. So next, I want to recognize our faculty in the American Sign Language and Deaf Studies Department, because March 13th through April 15th was the National Deaf History Month. The faculty members in the department are Kimberly Coons, chair, Stephen Barrios, associate professor, and Ron Szymanski, professor. National Deaf History Month celebrates the achievements of people who are deaf and hard of hearing, and it recognizes deaf studies. The National Association of the Deaf, NAD, started this annual commemoration in 1997. And NAD chose these dates of March 13th through April 15th because they mark important milestones in deaf education history. March 13th marks the appointment of the first deaf president at Gallaudet University. This university was founded in 1864 to empower the deaf and hard of hearing community. And I have to admit, when you walk between the library and the CLB building on the 3rd floor, there is a window cabinet display, and there's a pin that says Gallaudet, and I walked by that so many times, and I never realized that's what it was. So now that I wrote this report, I was like, oh, that's what that is. So I learn new things every day, and that's what lifelong learning is, right? March 13th marks the appointment of the first deaf president at Gallaudet. April 15th marks the opening of the first public school for the deaf in 1917, pardon me. As it relates to deaf and hard of hearing faculty in higher education, a 2025 dissertation at East Tennessee State University found that heritage language ASL faculty frequently experience shortages or delays in interpreter services. From my conversations with our ASL faculty here at the college, I know that this is also one of their concerns. It's important that interpreters are available for the various responsibilities our faculty are engaged in, whether that be committee work, chair work, teaching, or faculty meetings. And I know there's nationally a shortage in interpreters, so that's one of the challenges, of course. So I moved from that to other events from April. I know many of you attended the STEM Poster Symposium last week. And then I also want to comment briefly on Associate Professor Michael Price's new documentary. So last week, and I won't say much because I'm sure you all will have reports on this, but there were 333 registered posters for the STEM Poster Symposium. More than 500 students were involved. So I want to congratulate Lori Slavin, Professor of Chemistry, and Brenda Edmonds, Math Professor, for putting on such a great event for students. And there were more than $16,000 awarded in student scholarships for this. As I mentioned, Associate Professor of Journalism and Media Communications, Michael Price, celebrated the premiere of his documentary called The Politics of Trees. This documentary was released on Kansas City Public Television on April 23rd. And one of the topics Professor Price explored in this documentary is the way that developers are rethinking how trees can be incorporated into more sustainable buildings, using trees as natural ways to lower utility bills and things like that. So I haven't had the opportunity to watch it, but I know most of you were here when Professor Price presented a few months ago and learned more about his documentaries. As we look forward to the summer months, I want to share that the Open Petal Farm renaming ceremony will be held on June 5th from 5 to 7 p.m. at the Open Petal Farm, which will be renamed to Stu Schaefer Open Petal Farm. Stu was a former FA president, and I want to say that I benefit so much from the very detailed notes he took in the FA archives. I rummage through those all the time, and I just can't pull myself away from Stu's beautiful notes. So Stu was a former FA president, but he was pivotal in launching the JCCC Sustainable Agriculture Program. And the board, you all approved the renaming of the Open Petal Farm a few months ago after Stu Schaefer passed away. And lastly, I want to share that faculty are very excited to celebrate graduation next week. And I want to thank all the staff, I think Anne maybe left already, and then all the staff who spend countless hours preparing to make sure the event runs smoothly for all of the students. So that concludes my report. And you all should have received an invitation to Gert's Grill tomorrow. So if you're available, we'd like to see you there.
All right, any questions? Yeah, Trustee Holden.
So the Gert's Grill thing, I did get an invitation, but the theme, is this like, do we dress up as something, or?
Oh, gosh, no, just come as yourself.
Man.
You crawl in at the end of a semester and you beg someone for a nice cold beverage. That's the theme.
Although we did appreciate your red jacket at the December lunch.
All right, Trustee Jennings.
Will you also be having can we bring things to donate to, because you've done that in the past?
Yes, we have, and my apologies that I totally spaced implying that. But this is our first time at Gert's Grill, so I don't know if we'll have space for it, but we'll make space for it.
Okay, great, thank you.
All right, anybody else? Trustee Rattan.
Just want to say I'm happy to see the STEM poster symposium continue to grow, and congratulations to the professors who continue to nurture that program. And sorry I missed it this year, but I know it was amazing.
Students are amazing. I was in awe of what they explained. I don't understand most of it.
Agreed.
I love that they incorporate non-science students into it as well.
Yeah.
That's all I have.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none, I just wanted to comment on two things. Very appropriate that you were mentioning the ALS history and how much our interpreters do on campus, which is separate from our degree program. But I found out today that one of our longest serving, I think she's been here 28 years, LaVon Hamilton retired, and she's the wife of Adam Hamilton, pastor of Church of the Resurrection, now Senate candidate. But just the dedication and hard work that it takes to provide those services for both our students and our faculty is incredible. And it's really, sometimes I worry a fading skill that not everyone has. So I'm so grateful that we have a department here, and we have degree options for people that want to seek that, or certification options. And the other thing I wanted to say is that Stu Schaefer was a dear friend of my father's, was an incredible individual, and I'm really looking forward to honoring him by renaming the Open Petal. If you all went to the foundation luncheon yesterday, Open Petal Farm gave centerpieces, and my car smelled delightfully of basil when I got home because they gave that centerpiece to me. But that was such a gem of such a passion of his to get that off the ground, and he's dearly missed. So thank you very much. Appreciate all the things you cover in your report. All right, that's going to take us to the Johnson County Education Research Triangle with Trustee Rattan. I think you've met now.
Yes, I'll get to our meeting in a few, but JCERT received $1,990,023.22 in sales tax in April 2026. This is up over $16,000 from last month and $155,000 higher than April of the previous year. Distributed was $664,000 to each of the 3 university entities, and transfers to the university entities were made on May 4th. Yes, we did meet on April the 27th. Definitely very educational. Of note, there was a lot of discussion around the KU Edwards and K-State Olathe campuses working with us and Dr. McLeod to create 90-hour degrees. And you may want to speak a little bit to that, but They're doing similar things like co-locating labs and eliminating duplication, considering different degrees to add and change around and restructure. So,
Todd, you want to speak on that, kind of on the spot?
Yeah, the 90-hour degree piece is a new concept that HLC has allowed over the past 18 months, and there's sort of been a bit of a rush to the trough for institutions to try to figure out what this looks like. We have been a part of some of those conversations to make sure that we protect the 60 hours of our associate's degree in that conversation, because that was in real jeopardy at the beginning of this conversation with folks trying to curtail the associate's degree to save revenue at the 4-year level. We've managed to stave a lot of that off, and the hope is that we will find a way to really think about which fields could benefit from this and not have, because the first blush of the first few offerings that people brought to the table to our state committees was not really well thought out, and featured some degrees that already have 120 hours. And so the large question that we had at those tables was, if it really requires 120 hours to build this particular skill set, if your argument is that you can do the same thing in 90, what are we losing? Because those outcomes cannot be the same when you're lopping off a quarter of the degree, or we've been lying to people for 100 years that you needed 120 hours for a bachelor's degree. So there's some real question about where we're headed in that space. And right now, I think we're in a good spot. And some of those are really focusing on degrees that are tied to professional certifications that really don't necessarily require. So some things like looking at whether it would make sense for, rather than getting the BSN, there would be a nurse manager position in between that would include what we offer in a nursing degree with some management coursework, as opposed to management coursework and other didactic work that would lead to the BSN. So there are those kinds of conversations or things that we're having. And K-State's approach is starting to look at things like degrees in drone maintenance and
advanced manufacturing.
And advanced
was one.
manufacturing and flight. And so we're trying to partner with them, because we have the core programs that actually teach the basic robotic skills and all those pieces. And they're trying to look at what things they offered in Manhattan or at Salina that might kind of dovetail with the skills that we already provide. So I think it's a good spot for us to be in, and some interesting conversations to be sure. The next piece is for us to ensure that employers really want this, because right now the first blush from employers is that they want the full suite of skills that students come out with in the bachelor's degree. And so there's a little bit of reticence around this particular concept, but everybody wants to be flexible and continue to have the conversation.
Well, I'm very happy that they're working with you and being very careful not to step on our toes.
Yeah.
And then finally, if you'd like to keep up with JCERT, you can always go to jcert.org or on Facebook, Joko Triangle. That concludes my report.
Okay,
These are
any
my reports.
questions?
Hey there.
Any questions for trustee Rattan? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to the Kansas Association of Community Colleges. Trustee Cross, do we still have you on the line?
Yes, I have no report, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Then that takes us to trustee Mitchell with the foundation report.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Always a good one this time of year.
Yes, right. JCCC Foundation collaborated with the Fashion Design and Merchandising Department on their final draft fashion runway show, which happened on Friday, April 17th. We want to thank the trustees who attended. Thank you for your support. The event was a huge success, and we raised over $18,000 for fashion students. And did Chair Smith Everett have an
Got to
opportunity?
go. I'm so
Excellent.
excited. It was great.
On April 30th, JCCC Foundation partnered with the STEM Poster Symposium team to raise funds for students selected as winners. Ash Grove Foundation was the title sponsor and funded $10,000 for student scholarships, with other generous donors sponsoring more than $20,000 was raised, which was awarded which awarded scholarships to 26 students, pardon me. Thank you to the trustees who attended the scholarship lunch on Tuesday, April 21st. It was a wonderful celebration with over 100 students, faculty, and community supporters in attendance. Students spoke about the various scholarships they received and how they have been impacted by those scholarships and JCCC. Summer SIPs and Scholarships is Wednesday, June 17th, 4 to 6 in the Wiley Hospitality and Culinary Academy. And I think she mentioned yesterday it was going to be in the barbecue pit area if possible. Hawthorne Bank has agreed to underwrite the event for the second year in a row, which means 100% of the funds raised by attendees will support student scholarships. We hope to raise $30,000 to fund 30 students. Tickets are now available, and they're hot, so go get them. And now the big announcement, exciting news. For the 2025-26 school year, JCCC Foundation has awarded more scholarships than ever before, a record-breaking $2,375,942. That's up from $1.8 million last year. Thank you to all who have helped in reaching this incredible milestone. And that concludes my report, Madam Chair.
What a great way to end. Any questions for Trustee Mitchell on the foundation report? All right, seeing none, that's going to take us to the audit committee meeting, the first committee report we've got tonight, and so I will be providing that. The audit committee met on Thursday, May 7th at 9 a.m. right here in this boardroom. During the meeting, the committee received several updates regarding audit activities and ongoing initiatives. Representatives from JCCC's external audit firm, Reuben Brown, were present and provided an overview of the planned approach for the 2026 financial statement audit. As part of the updates on activities and audit agenda item, Jeff Johnson, Director of Audit and Advisory Services, provided a status update on the banking and investment audit, which is currently underway. Mr. Johnson also highlighted audit and advisory services continued focus on strengthening departmental competencies in alignment with the global internal audit standards. He reported that the team attended 2 professional conferences in March and shared that 2 staff members are currently pursuing the Certified Internal Auditor, or CIA designation for short. That's right, everyone. In addition, Mr. Johnson reported that the Audit Advisory Services, in partnership with Human Resources, implemented enhancements to the ethics report line during the past quarter. Looking ahead, Audit and Advisory Services will begin planning for an upcoming enrollment management audit and will also prepare the annual trustee and president expense report, which is scheduled to be presented at the August Audit Committee meeting. Committee also reviewed the audit recommendations update matrix. Mr. Johnson reported that 10 audit recommendations were addressed and closed during the quarter, while 18 recommendations remain in progress and are currently being addressed by management. Finally, the committee received the ethics report line update covering the period from January 22, 2026 through April 22, 2026. During that period, 104 reports were received. As of April 22, 2026, 85 of those cases have been reviewed and closed, and 19 cases remain in process. And that concludes the audit committee report. Do I have any questions? That's right, we're going to have CIA designation right here at JCCC, and all of us and all the spending. So for those that walked and those that didn't in Washington, D.C., the numbers are coming in August. Just prepare yourselves. We're going to move to the Board Governance Committee with Trustee Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Board Governance Committee met at 11:45 a.m. May 6, 2026, right here in this room in GEB 137. Those present were Trustee Chad Carroll, Dr. Tony Mitska, Dr. Mickey McLeod, Kelsey Nazar, Caitlin Murphy, Rachel Lears, and Liz Loomis as recorder. We went over, we reviewed 100 series policies. Board responsibilities policy 110.00, meetings of the board policy 112.00, special meetings of the board operating procedure 112.01. The board governance committee did not propose any changes. Caitlin Murphy, special assistant to the president, shared information about the new board portal software. The software, Boardable, will be available to trustees later this summer, with training taking place prior to then. And then Caitlin also announced the summer board retreat, which will take place July 16th. Prior to the board meeting, the retreat will be in the boardroom GB 137 from 3 to 4:45 p.m. on Thursday, July 16th. 16th. She also discussed planning for an August retreat with the date and information to be sent out early next week. That concludes my report.
Okay, any questions for trustee Carroll on the board governance committee? Yes. trustee
Comment, I'm hoping that the minutes of this meeting reflect that I was in attendance for the board governance committee meeting remotely.
Okay. Noted. We will fix that. Any other questions for trustee Carroll? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move along expeditiously, but trustee Carroll is back for the Employee Engagement and Development Committee report.
Thank you. The Employee Engagement and Development Committee met on Wednesday, May 6, 2026. Kim Steitmetz, Program Director for International and Immigrant Services, provided the Employee Engagement and Development Committee with the timeline and process involved in submitting an RFP for a carrier to provide Johnson County Community College students with international student group health and accident insurance. After careful consideration of 10 responding bids, Luremark, the incumbent vendor, was the vendor chosen by JCCC's evaluation committee. The following recommendation was made. It is the recommendation of the Employee Engagement and Development Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the proposal from Luremark for International Student Group Health and Accident Insurance for a base year of $342,672 and a total estimated expenditure of $1,080,273 throughout the renewal options as subsequently shown in the board packet.
And do you make that motion? All right.
Second.
Made by trustee Carroll, seconded by trustee Mitchell. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Okay, any opposed? No? Motion passes 6-0. Please proceed.
Ms. Christina McGee, Vice President of Human Resources, updated the committee on the results from the recent JCCC benefits survey, stating 2,880 employees were invited to take the survey. 734 respondents completed the survey, which is a completion rate of 25%. The majority of those were full-time staff between the ages of 40 to 59 who have a long tenure with the college and whose primary work location is the main campus. Overall feedback showed 83% of JCCC employees who completed the survey were satisfied or very satisfied with their benefits, and most agreed they were much better than other colleges or employers' benefits. Ms. McGee shared the next steps to be taken toward communicating out the survey results and actionable areas to focus on for the upcoming year. Other updates by Ms. McGee included the compensation study status update, benefit satisfaction survey, specifically around new benefits of legal services and identity theft, and upcoming analysis of the HRIS system, which will begin this month, and advising the committee that an updated ethics points form has been launched for easier reporting. Ms. Rachel Haynes, Director, Employee Engagement and Development, and Dr. Farrell Janab, Director, Faculty Development, reported on the employee and faculty awards that were presented at the Employee Awards Luncheon on Friday, May 1st, describing the different award categories for faculty and for staff. Ms. Haynes and Dr. Janab provided the committee with the printed award booklets that were distributed at the luncheon. This concludes my report.
Okay, very good. Any questions for trustee Carroll? Okay, seeing none, we're going to move right along to the Management and Finance Committee report with trustee Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Management and Finance Committee held their meeting in this room at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, May 6th. Information related to this meeting can be found on pages 9 through 16 of the board packet. The Management and Finance Committee received the following report from staff. We started with an update on sustainability initiatives. Dr. Jay Antle, Executive Director, Center for Sustainability and Professor of History, provided an update on initiatives within the Center for Sustainability and Campus Services. Dr. Antle discussed the sustainability goals included in the new facilities master plan and highlighted progress achieved in recent years through the college's Power Switch program, aimed at reducing energy consumption and costs. Additionally, he provided information on JCCC's investment in solar energy, electric vehicles, charging infrastructure, water and wastewater management, recycling initiatives, and materials management. He also shared updates on the activities of the Student Sustainability Committee, the Campus Farm, and JCCC's Bird Collision Study. Next, we moved on to other agreements. Rachel Lears, Executive Vice President for Finance and Administrative Services, presented 2 agreements, one with the Kansas Law Enforcement Training Center and the other with Union Pacific Railroad. Details can be found in the consent agenda portion of the May 14th, 2026 board packet. From there, we received our capital acquisitions and improvements progress report. Tom Hall, Associate Vice President, Campus Services and Facility Planning, provided the committee with information on facilities projects from capital acquisitions and improvement matrix. The matrix summarizes and monitors budget and actual expenses for campus services projects and includes payments through April 30th, 2026. Excuse me. Our next item of business related to the fiscal year 2026-27 management budget adoption. Megan Casey, Vice President, CFO, presented the proposed general post-secondary technical education funds management budget for 2026-27. The college will complete the required notifications and public hearings in September prior to adoption of the legal budget for fiscal year 2026-2027, which will be filed with the Johnson County Clerk according to statutory requirements. At this time, I'd like to ask Ms. Casey to come to the podium and share the proposed budget summary with the board.
Okay, so at our last board meeting in April, we walked through the budget in detail during the budget workshop. So today I'll just highlight a few key features for you all. Okay, so our recommendation for fiscal year 27 is to keep our current mill levy flat at 7.86 mills, and this is after 5 mill levy reductions in the past 6 years. This budget also includes a tuition and fee increase across the board, across all residencies that was approved in December 2025, that should say. Excuse me. It also includes benefit cost increases and then support for phase 1 of the facilities master plan to the tune of $25 million. This budget still maintains the college's reserve levels and which supports our financial health and our strong bond ratings. So high-level overview, we are budgeting for a $10 million increase in revenue and then a $32 million increase in expenses, with the bulk of those expenses being to support the facilities master plan. So the next steps, as were mentioned, after you all, if you adopt the budget today, the management budget today, in August, we will hold a public hearing or vote to hold a public hearing for our legal budget, and then in September is when we will have our legal budget adoption. So this budget today, the management budget, allows us to begin doing business on July 1.
Any questions for Ms. Casey? This is not our first rodeo with this information and presentation. We do our budget about 6 months out of the year. And this is just one of those steps along the way. We want the college to continue operating without having the budget begin until the statutory requirements, and that's what this allows us to do, right?
Correct.
All right, so please proceed, Trustee Mitchell.
Thank you, Ms. Casey, and thank you, Madam Chair. It is the recommendation of the Management Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees approve the fiscal year 2026-2027 management budget as presented by the college administration, and I so move.
Second on the budget. Trustee Rattan with a second. Any discussion? I really already made my comments, but I think it's always important in the for the sake of transparency, to just say to the public that the budget is a multi-month process. This is not, just because we have limited discussion tonight, doesn't mean we haven't gone over these numbers or inquired if we have concerns. And I frankly am very proud of the fact that we've kept our mill levy as low as we have, if not lower in some years. But as our speaker tonight said, with inflation, we may not be able to do that in coming years. So I'm in full support of this budget. Yes, Trustee.
Yeah, and just to reiterate what Ms. Casey said, this allows us to basically function without a finalized final budget that we send to the county. So there's always, if something were to change, we still have the August and September time periods to deal with that, so.
Do our budget 6 months, 10 months out of the year,
exactly.
sometimes it feels like. Yes, Trustee Holden.
And then I should just make one comment. I should express appreciation to Ms. Casey and Dr. Mixa for sitting with me as I had several questions and helping me through the process. So thank you guys very much for that.
All right, any other questions? I believe we have a motion. We have a second. We're ready to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
That was in favor, Trustee Cross.
That's what yes means, Madam
Sorry.
Chair.
It was a delay, so you came right as I asked for a no vote or opposed. All right, hearing unanimous
Sorry.
approval. That is 7 in
Thank
favor. Trustee Cross, do you have anything to say?
No, thank you.
Hearing no opposition, the motion passes unanimously. All right, please proceed, Trustee Mitchell.
Finally, we moved on to the procurement reports and recommendations, and Jim Fikert, Executive Director of Procurement Services, presented recommendations for 2 bids and awards and 3 cooperative bids and awards, resulting in a total of 5 recommendations. The first of these is parking garage repairs. It is the recommendation of the Management and Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the bid proposal from Concrete Strategies in the amount of $721,340, with an additional 10% contingency of $72,134 to allow for possible unforeseen costs for a total amount of $793,474. And I so move.
Second.
Motion moved by Trustee Mitchell, seconded by Trustee Carroll. Any discussion? The parking lot purchase? Yes, Trustee Mitchell?
Just a couple of things quickly. Mr. Fikert always makes a point of reiterating that the contingency is not something that's necessarily shared with the vendor, so we keep that money in reserve in case there's a little bit of a, for lack of a better description, scope creep or something that's controllable but changes the cost a little bit. And I also want to note that this is a low bid and it covers repairs to 3 garages on the main campus. And these will come out of the Campus Development Fund.
What is the life of these repairs? So once we do these repairs, do we expect this concrete to last for 5 years, 10 years, or is not predictable?
I think we asked that question, and I may phone a friend on this, but I think Tom said 15 years is something we should expect out of these? Am I?
At 50.
Yeah, you can come to the podium, please.
That was the 5-0, I think, was the blower,
It depends on which repairs we're doing, but, we're going to do repairs on parking garages on an annual basis. It's never the same repairs. Like, part of it is coating the surface, part of it is fixing where there's any kind of corrosion or something like that. So we'll continue to bring these every year. This is a little bit bigger than normal because they're usually around 250 to 300. But this year we had a few more things to do with some surface coating on the tops of the garage.
It's various repairs that have various prices and lifelines, expectancies. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. Do we have, did I do a motion in a second already? Can anybody remind me? Okay. All right. We're going to move on to a vote. All in favor of the motion for the concrete strategies, please say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 7-0. Please proceed.
Okay, so the second one is for architectural and engineering services for the Commons Building. It is the recommendation of the Management and Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the proposal from BBN Architects in the estimated amount of $568,000, which is 7.1% of the design fee. And I so move.
Okay, have a motion from trustee Mitchell, a second from trustee Cross. Any discussion on this motion? Okay, trustee Mitchell.
Give a little additional detail.
Please.
This is the most responsible bidder based on the RFP criteria. It's for architectural, engineering, and appropriate professional services for the programming design administration, and it's on the Commons Building Infrastructure Project, which the Com Building was constructed in 1971 and has 76,505 square feet with 4 floors. An infrastructure study was completed in 2024, which supports this, and the scope of work includes many things, including but not limited to the loading dock improvements, kitchen renovation, restroom renovations, elevator upgrades, HVAC replacement, electrical gear replacements, fire sprinkler installation, plumbing systems, suppression systems, and lighting. These costs will be coming out of the capital outlay fund, but it's a very extensive scope of work on this.
Okay, thank you for that. Trustee Holden.
I have a question for you. When you refer to responsible bidder, what is that? What is
So a responsible bidder is a bidder who can actually complete the job. It's not always necessarily the lowest bid. And in this case, there actually was one bid that was slightly lower than this. But the committee that reviewed this felt like they weren't capable of adequately, maybe I shouldn't say that. They felt like this group was better suited to perform the work that was scoped out.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay, hearing none, we're going to go to a vote. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none. Trustee Mitchell made the motion, trustee Cross seconded. Passes unanimously, please proceed.
Third one is for infrastructure hardware. It is the recommendation of the Management and Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the cooperative purchase from CDWG for a total expenditure of $160,000. And I so move.
Okay, motion made by trustee Mitchell, seconded by trustee Cross. Any discussion on this one? Okay, trustee Mitchell, please.
Yes, I believe this to be the case, and Ms. Lears, if I'm incorrect, please correct me, but this was previously funded by board vote in June of 2025, and at the time, we were doing agreement with Sirius, and Sirius has subsequently acquired CDWG, so this is real. I don't believe this is actually new funds. This is just to facilitate the new contract.
I would say Ms. Lear's smile indicates she has taught you well.
I got it right?
Yes,
And
it's
she
a
is
new vendor.
proud that you regurgitated it correctly.
Under a new cooperative, he's correct. Yeah, yeah.
Very good. Any more questions or discussion on this one? Okay, hearing none, we will go to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
The fourth one is for asphalt repairs and improvements. It is the recommendation of the Management and Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the cooperative purchase from RR Concrete in the amount of $545,431, with an additional 20% contingency amount for $109,086 to allow for possible unforeseen costs for a total amount of $654,517 for fiscal year 2026. And I so move.
Second.
All right, thank you, trustee Mitchell. Trustee Cross, I believe, indicated first for a second on that one. And we are funding a lot of concrete tonight. Any more discussion on that? Trustee Cross, did you have any discussion points?
No, I just wanted to thank you and Greg Mitchell for your leadership on this issue, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay, trustee Carroll.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask, why is the contingency higher on this one? Normally it's around 10%, but this one's 20%?
I asked that question, and hopefully Ms. Lears could help me with that. I don't remember the response to that.
Yeah, sometimes when we get into projects like this, we do allow for a more generous contingency just for any potential unforeseen situations once we start the surface work. Yeah, but like you indicated earlier, it's not necessarily committed to the vendor up front.
Mitchell?
And this is a cooperative agreement, so it was pre-bid out by an organization that we've probably done work with before. I can't remember the name of them offhand. But it's the cost is coming out of the Campus Development Fund.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Yes.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 7-0.
Finally, we have a recommendation for active learning multimedia services equipment. It is the recommendation of the Management Finance Committee that the Board of Trustees accept the recommendation of the college administration to approve the cooperative purchase from AVI SPL LLC for a total expenditure of $230,435. And I so move.
Trustee Mitchell with the motion.
Second.
Second.
Okay. Trustee Rattan with the second. Any discussion on this one? Trustee Mitchell, please.
Just wanted to point out that this is part of an ongoing conversion plan for several classrooms on campus. And I don't think this is the final set of classrooms, but I know we're getting very close to the end. And after that, we'll be done with the initial conversions, and then we'll start with the maintenance on the ones that we began with way back when.
You shouldn't publicize that we're converting anything or anyone. That's controversial these days. But yes, we are on the classrooms, right? And yes, we have done this for a number of years, maybe as many as 10 we've been at it.
It has been right around 10.
Yeah. How many are left to do?
Next year's budget that we just adopted will include the final initial round, and there'll probably be 5 or 6 next year, and then we'll
Good.
be where we
As
are.
my daughter indicated, we have really great facilities, and people notice it, especially our students who are coming to look at whether they're going to come here or not. So any further discussion on this one? All right, hearing none. All in favor, please indicate yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 7-0. Trustee Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you very much. And that is going to take us to our Student Success Committee report with Trustee Jennings.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Student Success Committee met at 9:30 a.m. on May 6, 2026, in this room. Barry Bailey, professor, librarian, presented new courses, course modifications and deactivations, program modifications, and general education designations effective for the 2027-28 academic year. Details can be found subsequently in the consent agenda portion of the May 14th board packet. Sheila Maupin, Associate Vice President of Instruction, presented renewal agreements with school districts and the annual affiliation renewal list. And I just might add that a lot of those annual affiliation renewals were in the healthcare industry. So, yeah, we're making good decisions here. Details can be found subsequently in the consent agenda portion of the May 14th board packet. Melanie Harvey, professor of chemistry, shared information about an independent study student research project in chemistry. JCCC students Nikki Amadian, Privilege Madzambwe, and McKenna Martinez were selected to present interactive digital research posters at the American Chemical Society National Meeting that was held in Atlanta in March. Dr. Harvey was a mentor for these students as they conducted their research on antimicrobial compounds produced from bacteria during the fall and spring semesters of this academic school year. Nikki and Privilege presented an overview of the research posters to the Student Success Committee. They explained the process of isolation, testing and identification of antimicrobial compounds produced by bacteria isolated from the soil. In addition to providing a summary of their research posters, Privilege and Nikki shared their experiences meeting with researchers from all over the world and the connections that they made professionally at this conference. Dr. Harvey also announced that Nikki, because of her extensive research experience at Johnson County Community College, has been selected to participate in a 10-week research experience for undergraduates, REU, at the University of Kansas this summer, funded by the National Science Foundation. This is a prestigious and competitive 10-week summer program where she will be paid to work in a research lab at KU. Additionally, room and board will be covered, and she will have the opportunity to present her summer research at the American Chemical Society National Meeting next year, spring 2027, in New Orleans. And I would also like to add that Nikki is one of very few community college students who is asked to attend this very prestigious event. So we're very proud of her.
Does that conclude your report?
Nope.
Oh, sorry. I should turn the page.
Dr. Harvey, Privilege, and Nikki thanked the trustees and the administration for their support and for funding. Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
All right, very good. Any questions for Trustee Jennings? Trustee Jennings, small little world story. My husband received that 10-week summer internship back in college, and he was at a 4-year undergrad, and it was very competitive at the time. And he had a professor who went on and on about how amazing it was that he got in. And it's incredible that and he was with people from big universities. We were at a very small college, but it's incredible that we have our community college students there, because the 4 years, they really try to get their students in. So the fact that our students are there is.
And if I could just add one more little piece to this story that I shared. The professor who's in charge of that at KU actually saw Nikki's poster presentation and talked with her at the conference they presented at, and then went to Dr. Harvey, who he knows, and said,
she's got to come.
Well, she needs to apply for this as quickly as possible, and here's the papers.
Yeah, that's great. It is, and you really have to have your hand held through the process to get through it, because there's quite a bit of paperwork and applying, and so it's not an easy thing. It's not just like a given. So that's incredible that she's going to get to do that. It's my husband 30 years later still talks about that experience. It was great for him, so I'm really glad to see that she's going to be able to do that too. Any other questions for Trustee Jennings? All right, I believe that's going to take us to the treasurer's report with Trustee Mitchell.
Thank you again, Madam Chair. The board packet includes the treasurer's report for the month ended March 31st, 2026. Some items of note include: page 1 includes the general post-secondary technical education funds, which are the primary operating funds of the college. An ad valorem tax distribution of $7,641 was received in March and distributed as follows. The general fund received $6,557,290. The capital outlay fund received $443,274, and the special assessment fund received $77. Yes, that's correct, $77, for a total of $7,641. Also in March, the college made a semi-annual debt service payment on the Series 2017 Certificates of Participation. Expenditures of the primary operating funds are within approved budgetary limits. And with that, it is the recommendation of the college administration that the Board of Trustees approve the treasurer's report for the month ended March 2026, subject to audit.
Okay,
And I so move.
Trustee Mitchell with the motion, Trustee Cross with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, please indicate with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Yes.
Hearing none, the measure passes unanimously. Trustee Mitchell, does that conclude your?
That concludes my report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Very good. All right, we are going to go to our monthly board report from Dr. Mixa. Not a lot going on around here.
Yeah, it's been a crazy
quiet.
month. It's been really busy. But I'll first start off with enrollment for the summer and the fall. I think you guys have your sheets over there. When you take a look at it, it looks huge. When you talk about the summer, we're up between 14 and 15%, whether you think credit hour or head-to-head or head count. But I have to look at it, John, to just make sure the comparison isn't actually one-for-one to last year at this time. When you read down a little bit further, we started getting numbers a little bit earlier this year, this time? About 10 days earlier. So our numbers are a little higher. But with that in mind, we still believe we're up between 2.5% and 3.5%. So that's really good still for the summer. Fall, we've got good news for the fall down there as well, too, up between 8.5% and 9%, whether depending on credit hours. And those numbers, I think, are pretty safe at this point comparatively. They're a little high, but they'll kind of connect in as we go. But obviously, you see we're doing great work with recruitment from you saw what Pete Belk and his team are doing there. I also want to note that our continuing education, we've got Elisa in the house here tonight. We are about 85% towards our goal of 17,000 students, having served on our non-credit side of the house 14,871 students.
We are, if I can clarify, we are 85% towards our enrollment goal that would end in December or in the school year?
School year, June 30th.
Okay, I was going to say, okay.
It's a fiscal year.
Well, darn, I was going to say for December, and then that'd be really impressive, but.
They're still impressive.
Yeah, they are. They are always impressive.
All right, just a few other things that we have going on today. You've heard a little bit about this in the recruitment and enrollment area. The new Element 451 CRM has rolled out. The rollout is in the final stages for our students. Element 451 is an AI-powered, all-in-one student engagement and enrollment CRM designed for higher education to automate personalized communication, manage recruitment, and improve retention. What I think is exciting is I think we're using it right now. I'm going to look at Shelley. She'll probably say I'm wrong if I do something wrong, but we're using it now in the in the application process, and then we can communicate to students throughout that application process if something isn't there, and we know where they're at. So I think that's a big improvement for what we have. So we're really excited, and more to come with that as well too. So great work, Shelley and your team and everything that you've done there. And also I got to throw out a shout out to Rob and his team because they've done a lot of IT work in the background also. The JCCC Veterans and Military Student Resource Center is now fully operational in the newly renovated Comms 309 space. Trustees are invited to tour the new space at 4 p.m. on June 18th. That's not a random date. That is the next board meeting, hopefully, because you guys have to approve that still.
No, June is approved.
Oh, June's approved. All right, sorry. Just trying to be cool there. All right, directly prior to the June board meeting, Christina and I actually got the opportunity, when I said Christina from the office, got the opportunity to tour it. It's wonderful. I think it's going to be great. It will serve more students, so we're looking forward to having you guys up there as well. In hospitality management, our chef's apprentice student, Alyssa Opfer, represented the United States as a member of the United States culinary team in the Global Culinary Olympics in Singapore last week. Alyssa earned 2 second places in the world for her appetizer in a mystery box competition.
Whoa.
I just like reading that. That kind of sounds really exciting. In addition, the U.S. culinary team achieved first place in the world for best menu. Congratulations to Alyssa for her outstanding international accomplishment, and also a sincere thanks to the JCC Foundation. We're doing a great work with all that money that we have there for providing significant financial support that made her participation possible. What would a report be without talking about athletics this time around? Our softball team has done some great work. They are headed to the Softball World Series, so we're excited about that. That's going to be a lot of fun. Our baseball team, they've been ranked #1 in the country for a while. For most of the season, they are knocking the ball out of the park. It's been a great year for them. I think they have one more round of tournaments to get to the national tournament, so hopefully they'll do well. We're wishing them luck there as well, too. As we said, it's been a busy few weeks preparing for the end of school, but we did have the opportunity to do some things. It's been mentioned earlier, but we were at the fashion show, felt like we were in Milan. This was great. Certainly Chair Smith Everett was there, but we also had Vice Chair Rattan, and Trustee Chad Carroll was there in the super cool jacket. I felt really cool being by him. That was awesome. But it was really a fun night as they walked down the runway. It's getting packed, so we're going to have to figure out how to continue to grow that event. I like to just say this, the name of this one, Deb and I attended the play Urinetown You can take that word any way you want, like you're in town or you're in town. But I want to throw a big shout out to the people to the director. It was an amazing acting. The singing was amazing in the play. I can't wait for the next production. And the fact of the matter is, it's free to go to these plays, and the quality of production that's there was really just amazing. So we really had a good time there as well, too. A few other events that we got to be a part of. We went to the Clear Certificate Ceremony. What an amazing event. Those students are awesome. I loved the presentations. I loved the passion. I loved how they got up in front. If you guys, Trustee Jennings was at that one as well, too. So if any of you get a chance to go to that ceremony, it's wonderful. It's a great one to go to. At Cav Craze, Jean-Claude snuck up. Well, maybe not snuck up, but came up and smashed a pie in my face. So that was a wonderful event that we got to go to. Our faculty in graphic design did wonderful work getting our students to what they call their NAC presentation. What an amazing event, downtown Kansas City. I'm still kind of learning, but it was at an ad agency downtown where our students were there. I got to walk around and talk to some of our students, but I was really careful not to take too much time because there were employers there as well too, and I didn't want to be in the way as employers, but employers there. So what a really just a wonderful event. I got to judge the ice cream sundae battle. That's always a fun thing to do as well too. Attended the Outstanding Student Awards luncheon. Participated in a couple corporate challenge events, so that was a wonderful event. We did the 5K together. We knocked it out when we did that. Participated in the 7 Days of Kindness event. One of those being an indoor recess event, which held what I thought was one of the most fun events that I've done on campus this year, which was a hula hoop competition. I got lucky. We did go into overtime. I was able to beat Chief Mullis. I thought what I would do for Chief is get a picture for him that he could take. If you want to come up and grab this, Chief. You look really solid in the picture with your outfit, so it's all yours if you'd like to take that. You can show it around.
Put it up in your office. Staff.
I like the hands.
Well, thank you.
And last but not least, kind of the culmination, kind of what I talk about, that idea 40, 40, 40. We got graduation next week. I think we have the number that I have down here right now. It could change, but about 4,800 students receiving degrees and certificates in some fashion. They won't all be at the graduation ceremonies, but we're really excited about that. Looking forward to having all you there and looking forward to have everybody there because it really is a culmination of all the great work that the students have done and also a culmination of the great work that all of our faculty, staff, and you as board members have done as well, too. And that's my report. Thank you.
All right. Questions for Dr. Mixa? Yeah, Trustee Mitchell?
On the Veterans Resource Center that we're going to be touring on you said June 18th, I believe?
Yep.
Have we had the official grand opening for that already, or is that?
Not yet, no.
That's sort of, it's not until the fall.
It's in the fall. It will be, the ribbon cutting will officially be in the fall. They've had some other busy things going on, and so they wanted to wait until everybody was back.
Do you know if the congressional delegation has been invited to that? Because when we were in DC, we sort of told.
We will invite them. We haven't.
Told them all that we'd invite them, and who knows if anyone will show up, but.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely invite them. We'll invite people.
Well, it's an election season for some, so I'm sure they will. But yeah, they certainly tout the vets as very important constituency, so good point on that one. Any other questions for Dr. Mixa, or Trustee Rattan?
Are you seeing good participation in Corporate Challenge? I know it's really a nice way to bring people together in a company, and so hopefully people are participating.
So I think
know it's our first year.
Yeah, I mean, a variety. Yeah, first year back. I mean, for the 5K, I think there was like 9 or 10 people there. I mean, so it just all depends. We're doing, I know for the bike race, there's about 5 or 6 of us in the bike race. It was really cool. We got to ride around the racetrack, so that was kind of neat. But yeah, I mean, we're getting medium participation. I don't know what our standings were. We had moved up a little bit for a little while.
Yeah, we're toward the bottom, but
We're
we're not.
yeah.
Well, and maybe that's because it's your first year, but I know when my company did it, it was a way for us to kind of rally together.
Right.
And you get to meet people from different departments that you may not necessarily meet, so it's a great tool for a company to participate in.
Any other questions? Okay, well, it just sounds like to me, you're just doing indoor and outdoor recess and eating, basically the entire month. So
It's a great place to do that.
I was going to say, I guess you're having fun, which is great. Glad you're doing it. I had another comment, but I don't remember what it is, so we're going to move on. All right, that is going to take us to the new business, and I'm not aware of any new business. And so we will move on to old business. I'm also not aware of any old business. So that is going to take us to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is a regular part of our board meeting where we bundle several standard pieces of business that we take care of all in one bundle. And I will make the motion to take up the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, trustee Jennings with the second. Any discussion on the consent agenda? I wonder if you're going to say the same thing I am. Yes, trustee Rattan.
Two people I'd like to pull out that are separating from the company. One is Terry Ladisall, and I do want to thank her for all the work that she's done at Foundation. It's always a welcoming face walking into an event or a meeting, and I really appreciate her. The second person is Maya Lawrence, who is going on to another university in a different role. I'm very happy for her, but definitely will miss her, seeing her in the corridors and realizing she's not one of the students. But she really has contributed a lot to student success, so I appreciate Terry and Maya and wish them the best in the future.
Any other discussion on the consent agenda? I was going to also mention Terry. She's given a tremendous amount to the college in general. I don't know how many years she's been here, but forever, probably. And she has supported the advancement department and government affairs and is really critical in communicating with us on some ongoing ways and scheduling things with us, which can, be a beast because we've got a lot going on. So I appreciate her. I hope she's sailing off into the sunset to do something lovely and relaxing and get away from, all the management she's had to do here all these years. So hearing no other discussion, I think we'll move to a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Yes.
And any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes 7-0. All right, we do not have an executive session for the evening, so I will take a motion to adjourn.
Madam Chair, I move to adjourn.
All right, trustee Mitchell with the adjournment, and a second from trustee Holton, was it?
Yes.
All right. Trustee Holton with the second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I hear none. Moving on, motion carries 7-0. Sorry. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam
Have a
Chair.
good evening.
Thank you for running a great meeting.